And the next morning we go in, we're checking the numbers, and everyone starts celebrating. Like, oh my God, we're seeing all this traffic. This is amazing. And I'm just sitting in the corner, like eyes wide, like having a full-blown panic attack.
When I was prepping for the show, I was like, how do I pronounce this name? So how do I say the name of the company?
Jebbit.
Jebbit. And where did that name come from?
So it was actually one of the original founders, like before I was even a part of it. So it started out of a college dorm room. And one of the founders' names was Jeb. And I believe the company was originally called Added Up, and we got a cease and desist from Bank of America. And so we were searching for new names, and our CEO, Tom's mom, suggested, oh, well, why don't you call it Jebbit? I had no idea how she came upon that, but it resonated and it stuck around.
Nice. Well, if Jeb is like the survey guy, you just Jeb it. Right?
Exactly. But not to be confused with Jibbits, which are the little things that you add on to Crocs.
Oh,
like the little like the little buttons or little like designs.
So I'm learning people decorate their Crocs.
They do. It's a big thing.
Okay. So you're the CTO of this company. How did that come to be?
Oh man. So I originally got involved. Like I said, it was founded out of a college dorm room, and my last semester of school, I got a cold email from Tom, the CEO, asking if I would like to help out on this project called Jebbit. And, it was kind of winding down my coursework at that point. I think I was taking 3 classes in an independent study, so I didn't have a ton to do. So I figured, yeah, why not? I'll get a little bit of experience, and then I'll go and get a real job. And about 2 months later, we got accepted to Techstars, and Tom and one of the other co-founders, Jonathan, dropped out, and dropped out like months ahead of months before graduation. So I don't think I even got through the full sentence of asking my parents if I could follow them before it was shot down. I think they kind of saw what I was asking and said immediately, nope, not happening. So I finished out school and worked on Jebbit 1 to 2 full days a week. And coming out of demo day, we got a little bit of funding, and then it became a reality of this is something that we can pursue professionally and legitimately. So I just kind of put all notions of, quote unquote, real job aside, and, put my head down and started working. But, back then, the titles don't really matter at that point in time. We were just trying to develop as much software as quickly as humanly possible.
That is so cool. And then I know that I got to research it and look at it before, but it's basically surveys and you do analytics on them. How do you describe it?
Yeah, it's very malleable system. It can do a lot of different things, but our 2 biggest use cases are creating very chic, interactive surveys and product finders. If you think of the use case of, say, landing on an e-commerce website, and they have linked to a quiz where they ask you 5 questions and they recommend the right pair of jeans for you. And based on your responses, they will recommend you the product that they think best fits, and then kind of push you towards a purchase or a conversion of that product. They don't necessarily have to push to conversion. It can be a little bit more fun or interactive. Like if you go to the NFL home site, you'll find like a little Jebbit experience in there where it's basically asking you, who do you think is going to win the matchups this week? That's the opening week of the NFL. But what the NFL really cares about are the last 2 questions in there, which is, what is your favorite team, and what is your personal information, name and email address. And once they have that, they're then able to they're able to personalize marketing. So anything that comes to me will have Patriots associated with it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And that's because you're in Boston?
Yep, I'm in Boston.
All right. And when did you fall in love with the Patriots?
It was since birth. So I grew up in Connecticut, and Connecticut has this weird identity crisis where half the state thinks it belongs to New York and the other half thinks it belongs to Boston. And I just happened to grow up on the Boston side of the state.
Nice. And then now do you live in the city of Boston?
Yep. Live right downtown. So went to school here and then just fell in love with the city, never left.
Nice. Very cool. So I'm curious about, you shared this trajectory of the growth of the business. Where are you at currently? Are you still in survival mode, early stage funding mode? Are you in expansion and growth? Where are you at right now?
We are in growth mode. So about a year and a half ago, we took a significant round of funding from Vista Equity Partners. So to that point, we'd been venture funded, and this was our foray into the private equity markets, which is really when we wanted to put our foot on the gas when it came to growth and just general maturation of the company. And to that end, they've been really amazing partners of really imposing a lot of operational rigor on us, making sure that we are tracking the right metrics, that we are hitting our targets, and really holding us accountable.
What type of war stories do you have from the growing pains of doing a startup?
So yeah, I got one good one. So we were working with, and we were probably punching a little above our weight class at this point with the level of brand that we were working with, but we'll say a nationally recognizable athletic wear brand, and they had a set of coupon codes. I think it was like 1,000 coupon codes that they wanted us to deliver to consumers that went through an experience. So they would answer 5 or 6 questions. They would provide their email address, and then we would present them with a coupon code. And to that point, this is probably 2014, maybe. So it was very, very early days of the company, probably 5 or 6 of us. So to that point, we had never really seen 1,000 users go through any one of these experiences, because we were working with a lot more like local types of brands, and we were trying to push our own audience, which was mostly college students, to it. So it was a relatively small body of users that we would advertise to. And overnight, this thing absolutely blew up, and like 10, 15,000 people went through it. And the next morning we go in, we're checking the numbers, and everyone starts celebrating like, oh my God, we're seeing all this traffic. This is amazing. And I'm just sitting in the corner, like eyes wide, like having a full blown panic attack. And they look at me like, Matt, what's going on? What's wrong? It's like, guys, they only gave us 1,000 coupon codes. And so there are like, 9 to 14,000 people out there, that don't have a coupon code. They were just given kind of a blank screen. And so we fire up the emails, and there's just a deluge of angry emails from this company being like, you are over, like, we have tons of users just overloading our support channels, asking for coupon codes. Like, what happened? And, we came to realize we didn't have a shut off mechanism to say, oh, well, we ran out of codes. Let's shut this one off, give a sorry message to the rest of the consumers, and then, maybe be able to still ask them questions. But it just didn't really occur to us. And it was a great lesson in planning for the worst that day.
Oh man, that's a bittersweet day, isn't it? You sit there and you crush your goals. You have more traffic than you ever have. But those are my favorite types of problems. I tell people all the time, like, I like it when you make the sale and you have to figure out how to deliver it. Because if you're building a brand new product, or you're starting out and you're doing something that's on the newer side, you can drive yourself crazy thinking of every single possible edge case. But yeah, that is a great story, man.
Yeah, it's one I constantly talk about when kind of presenting the risks of a project. Of we don't want it to be that one, because that one definitely goes in my personal Hall of Fame of screw ups.
Well, so then now, once bitten, twice shy, right? So now when you are building, how do you balance building enough versus overbuilding? Do you have a framework? Do you have a system or a set of processes that you use so that you're doing enough to not have that issue again, but you're not sitting there unable to deliver business value because you're thinking of every edge case? How do you handle that?
Yeah, I would say a lot of the features that we build follow like a general maturity curve of we're still a relatively small organization. I think we're about 100 full-time employees at the moment. So we're nimble enough where we can build things really quickly and get them to market really quickly. And when we do that, we try to go through kind of the internal alpha beta tests and make sure that what we're building, assuming it's significant enough new feature, is going to be accepted by our users. They're going to they'll respond positively to it. They'll get some value out of it, and it actually works. And we have a pretty solid base of customers who are really chomping at the bit to get access to those new feature sets. So that the interest level is there, and we're able to use that to our advantage to get them to test things out with the knowledge that they're not always going to be the most stable. And those are where we really find the holes in our thinking. And as we patch those up and get it ready for prime time and make sure it's going to be plenty scalable, that's when we will really just do a double check and do a final risk assessment of, okay, what else might we be overlooking there? And usually it goes off without a hitch after we get to that point.
And so you're at about 100 people now?
Correct.
So when you're looking at your next generation of leaders as you continue to grow the business, get new customers, private equity, when you're looking at your next generation, your next layer of leaders, what sort of what traits or habits stand out so that when you see this happening, you think, oh, I should spend some time with that person and invest in them because they're going to do well long term?
Let's say it's a combination of curiosity and initiative that I really cling to. Like when I see those two qualities in someone, that's when my eyes really light up and I want to just pick their brain endlessly and do everything I can to help see them succeed. So curiosity is just getting involved in parts of the business that may be a little bit outside of their general purview, but just because they want to and they're just want to do a little bit of exploration. And then the initiative is when you see something wrong, either raise your hands, make note of it, and then try to fix it.
What do your parents think of you now?
Parents?
Yeah.
I don't think they know what I do.
Didn't they not want you to go do the startup thing though at the beginning and get a real job?
They didn't want me to drop out of school 3 months before graduation.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah. And in retrospect, I can't fault them for that logic as much as I may have wanted to in the moment. They've always been in the opinion, we're going to get you to school. We're going to get you into a good college, set you up for success there, and then from there, it's on you to figure it out. And to that end, they see that I enjoy the work that I do. I work with a lot of my very close friends, and to that end, they're pretty happy with how it's all worked out.
What did they do when you were growing up?
So my dad is both recently retired, but my dad was a pharmacist, and my mom was a life sciences teacher. So like home ec, drug education, that sort of a thing.
Oh, nice. So you learned a lot of home skills then?
Yeah. And when I was young, my mom, she stepped away from work for a little while, and around like 5 or 6, started to go back part time. So she was like a teacher's aide and substitute teaching for a little bit in there. So every now and again, she would drag me into a middle school math class. And I'd be learning long division when I was in like kindergarten. And I think that I look back on those days as really one of the big accelerants to why I clung so much to like STEM types of classes, just because I got in there early when my brain was just a sponge, and it just kept it rolling. I really enjoyed it. And just really, really clung to it.
Oh, dude, kids are so smart. I've got 3 kids under the age of 6, 6 and under. We homeschool them. We did the Montessori for a while, but then we started homeschooling them about 2 years ago. Whoa, dude, they just take off like crazy. They're not thinking about cycles and weekends and school. They just do the schoolwork when they want to do it, and it's quite often. And they just progress through the grades at their own rate, and it's crazy because my daughter should be this month starting kindergarten, and she's about to finish first grade. So that is awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I'm a huge fan. I look, I think it's an unreasonable task that we ask one adult to manage 30 kids and teach them, and they have to bring all of them along on the journey. You know how hard it is to get 30 people to do something on a journey. So I think it's just the sheer design of the system, and it's not like bad teachers and things like that. Obviously there's good and bad teachers, but the design of the system is really difficult because you have to bring everyone along on this journey versus just teaching to the individual and moving at the pace that they're able to move.
Yeah, and it is very difficult. I mean, so I'm very thankful that I got a lot of exposure to that outside of just the normal school environment. Yeah. And then my brother was also a big reason why I got into computer science specifically. See, he started learning to code in high school. I think he was playing RuneScape and basically building bots to like mine materials and then sell them on eBay for real money. So he had like a dozen browser windows up at any given time, all doing that. And I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. He's my older brother. I look up to him, and that was really what kicked it off for me. And then kind of ended up going to the same school, same major, same career path. So it's been I've him to thank as well.
Oh, nice. My brother's about 3 years older than me. He's a physician, and I'll tell you what, my first memory, we shared a room growing up, right? My first memory of this guy was him sitting at the desk in our room doing homework. I'm like, why are you doing homework? He's like, because I'm going to become a doctor. And I was like, okay. And then he just did that forever, and then he became a doctor. But from my very first conscious memory of this guy was him sitting there telling me he's going to be a doctor, and that's why he's doing schoolwork, because I wouldn't. I'd be like, look, I can just do the classwork and get like a B- instead of doing homework and getting an A.
And that's what it takes to be a doctor, right? You have 4 years of undergrad. You got to deal with the MCATs, 4 years of medical school, however many years of residency, fellowships. It's such a long journey to get there. So he's probably done with his residency. Is he like a full-blown practicing physician at this point?
Yeah, he's almost 40. He's been practicing for 7 or 8 years now. I think that's correct. But he had a lot. He did his residency with my stepmom and one of his rounds. But yeah, I didn't catch on to the medical thing at all. I just had my interest for computers, and my dad would take me to work with him. My brother would be at home doing his homework. I'd go to work with my dad, and my dad was a software and hardware engineer. So I just hung around that and then did that. And that became my life. And the reason why I had a low interest in school was because it wasn't a requirement to do the thing I enjoyed doing, which was programming. The requirement to do what I wanted to do was convincing my dad to take me to Barnes & Noble on Friday night and instead of getting a Slurpee, using that money to buy a book.
Yep.
And then go home and try to do the things in that book, right?
Yep.
So that's just different paths, but and I'd say we both have similar drive, but I'm curious to talk about, I saw on the prep, it really caught my attention about this cookieless world concept, mostly because while my background is a software engineer, I haven't been actively doing it since the podcast got popular for the past like 3 or 4 years. So I've been keeping up with it on a daily basis, but web applications were a big area of where I spent my time. I'm curious, what are they talking about? Third-party cookies? Like, what's going on? Okay, so explain to me, like a child, what the third-party cookie is, and then why they're going away, and what's making them go away.
So, effectively, what a third-party cookie is let's say you're on, Reddit, and on the sidebar, there's some sort of advertisement, some sort of banner ad. That banner ad, let's say it's coming from Google. In kind of the old worlds, Google would be able to put a cookie on your web browser within Reddit, or like while you're on the Reddit website, and then use that as a means to track you across different web properties. Then let's say you went to Facebook, or I guess Google is owned by Google, or Wikipedia, or any of these other websites. Google would effectively be able to identify, it's Joel again, and just kind of figure out what your interests are from that. And so Safari has already nixed third-party cookies entirely. I forget if Firefox has, but I would assume it probably has as well. Ultimately, it's Google and Chrome that have been the last pillar to fall in the browser space. And actually, I got the update for it yesterday when I updated my Chrome. There's a little pop-up that said, "Oh, you are now going to be opted into the Topics API," which is Google's answer to the third-party cookie deprecation. I think so. Originally, Chrome had a deprecation date of like the beginning of this year. Then I think they kicked it out to the end of 2024, if memory serves. I'm sure we could look that up. But effectively, the Topics API is a way to more anonymously collect this information at the browser level and use it as a means to still continue to serve relevant advertisements to users on the internet. Mozilla and Apple are still holding out and refusing to adopt the API. So first quarter 2021?
24.
Oh, sorry, 2024. Cool. So yeah, hasn't happened quite yet, but
for 1% of Chrome users.
Oh, so interesting. Yeah, I wonder when it's all going to fall.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. Look, if they own one of the most popular browsers in the world, why are they even messing around with third-party cookies? You could, I know why they are, because you can get a ton of traffic, but you just put something in Chrome, right?
Yep, and that's effectively what they're doing with the Topics API. Yeah. It just doesn't sound like it's going to be supported by Firefox or Safari in the near future. I think they're just continued privacy concerns over that, and they don't want to necessarily go back on their word of deprecating third-party cookies if it's replaced by something that's not also not very privacy minded.
Yeah, or were they going for intent concepts? Like when they call it Topics API, makes me think they're trying to just intent data is a huge thing that they sell, right? Yeah, so that's what they're looking for then.
Exactly, okay. Or just general topics that you're interested in.
Okay, yeah. And so that's going away. Is there a thing called second party cookie? I understand first party cookies, like you're on my site, it's my cookie. Are there second party cookies, or is third party just the way it sounds because it's a concept people are familiar with?
Yeah, it's just first and third.
All right, cool. I didn't know. All right, so is that going to impact your business at all, or do you not dependent on those?
Not dependent at all. So this is actually a stance that we took pretty early on. When we were trying to find our niche in the marketing tech space, is we wanted to be the place where consumers could come and actively share pieces of data with a given brand and only share those pieces of data with a brand. So it's what we called zero party or first party declared data. It's all kind of a bit of alphabet soup at times of what a piece of data actually is. But the idea is that you can proactively share your interests, your preferences, your intent with a given brand and allow them to use that data in the moment to provide you with a more personalized experience. So it's meant to be much more symbiotic versus traditional ad tech is more about kind of looking over your shoulder, observing what you're doing on the internet, and then trying to provide you with things that it thinks is relevant. We took the approach of just asking.
Oh, okay. That's a simple way to do it. Josh, maybe you can help me remember who this was, but we talked to this one company. They're like the second largest search company in the world, and as far as like request goes, Algolia. Have you heard of these people yet?
I have not.
Okay, so they do a lot of search, and you can look them up. But one of the things that I thought was interesting is an area of business that they were getting into was product recommendations. So if you go on a site and you're looking for jeans, and you're like, "Hey, I'm looking for these types of jeans," it would help you find those products better because it's commerce searching. And I didn't know if you had explored them at all.
No, we actually have not. So thank you for turning me on to them.
Yeah, I recommend you check them out because like they have really bright people, and they It was cool that we did an episode with them. I can send it to you. But when I heard what they were doing with search and AI, because everybody wants to talk about AI, right? It's like you can't have an interview in 23 without bringing up AI. And so I was curious if it had impacted them at all. And this is one of the things that they were using it for. Was apparently in commerce, there's this problem where if I go to a website and I'm searching for a specific product, it's just the product searching isn't that good. Like to find nearby products or things that might, and this was one of the solutions to it. And when you were talking earlier about you would fill out 5 questions and it would recommend a product, I was like, oh, Matt should go check out what these guys are doing, just so at least you're aware of the different techniques people are using in the industry to do this different types of product recommendation.
Cool. Yeah. Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Are you currently using AI?
Yeah, we are.
Or how are you using it?
So at its heart, Jebbit is a creative platform. So the big appeal is you can create these interactive experiences on the web without needing a development team. So it's WYSIWYG editing, low code, no code, and you can get you can customize it quite a bit, and you can really format the content however your heart desires. So to that end, generative AI plays in pretty well to that because it is a creative platform. So we are using it to help create these experiences from scratch. Like if you just need a little bit of inspiration, you can prompt a large language model to basically ask it for 5 questions to recommend a pair of jeans out of my product feed, and it'll be able to create that. And then on kind of the more consumer facing side of it, we're still kind of actively working on this one, but we are live with a couple of alpha customers. We do have the ability to based on the responses that a user gives us, just recommend a product based on that particular information. Before, like the product as it stands now, it requires a set of mapping. So based on the questions and answers, you're very explicitly kind of mapping those answers to a particular set of products and kind of narrowing down your search over time. The AI solution to this just does that, but without all of that manual labor that's required there. So the idea is that it can provide better recommendations with less effort, and that will just lower the barrier to entry for these brands to create these and deploy them, and will give better recommendation to the consumers.
Are any podcasters using this technology?
Podcasters? I don't believe so.
No? They engage with their audiences at all or anything like that?
We were exploring like a partnership with someone who had a pretty large Twitch channel, where it would they would pop up a link and push someone into a Jebbit experience to try and collect information and learn more about their consumer base. But it never really got off the ground there. We really have specialized within the space of CPG and e-commerce.
What's that acronym?
Consumer packaged goods.
Okay.
So pretty much if you go into a grocery store, the brands that you see there that are creating your cereal, your toilet paper, your toothpaste.
Yeah. I did. I had a conversation with somebody about 5 years ago, and I thought it was fascinating. They worked with a fertilizer company, I believe it was, and that's why they would use rebates, because the fertilizer companies would ship all this fertilizer out to these big warehouses and farmers would come buy it, but they had no idea who their customers were, right? They didn't know exactly who they were. So they would put these like $20 rebate in it, and they'd fill out their name, address, information, and then send the rebate in. And now they know where their customers are and they can talk directly to their customers.
That's smart.
Yeah. Is that something like you guys do? Is that one of the reasons why?
So, I mean, with going to a virtual world and the boom or the resurgence of the QR code, we have had customers put QR codes that lead to Jebbit experiences directly on their products, which is pretty awesome to just be walking through a grocery store and see, it's like, oh, that leads to Jebbit.
Nice. Dude, this is so cool. So what's next for you? Like, what are you really excited about as far as the future of Jebbit goes?
I mean, I'm just along for the ride, trying to grow this company as large as we possibly can. This is the most amazing first job that I could ever have imagined. Just kind of having started from, those humble beginnings in a college dorm room. It's been just incredible to see the amazing people that we've gotten to join us, and the product that we've built, the customers that we get to interact with day to day, week to week. And I just want to keep it moving. Just really enjoyed everything that I've learned, and I'm not quite at the point where I'm looking at like what's next. I think it's just continuing to grow.
You're excited and you're in growth mode.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, as you continue to learn and things change, you guys grow. When you're a billionaire and you're doing your exit and all of that, give me a call and we'll do a follow-up episode and see how things are going. And the call to action for people is to go to jebbit.com, and we'll put a link in the show notes.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Awesome. Well, Matt, we made a podcast, man. How do you feel?
That was great. It was very, very easy going.